Hey everybody, I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. Won't you do that to me? My computer just tried to shut itself off right as I was going live. I hate it when that happens. But that's the kind of thing. Let's see, we'll get this set up the right way. Bear with me. Boy, we got the whole crew, which is amazing because my brother Johnny is live as we speak. And you want to know a fast way to kill a Scoville live feed? Have a Scoville live feed on the other channel, especially if you're the more famous of the Scovilles. So, you saw the thumbnail, people. That was a picture of neural pathways. We're going to be talking about habits. But before we do, we're going to talk about some other stuff because this topic today almost had 3 other titles. And I certainly didn't write the thumbnail the right way, and I didn't realize that until afterwards either. I should have said make 'em or break 'em. That would have made a lot more sense, but no, I didn't get that. M. Hunt, good to see you. Miss Dragon, good to see you. Linda Pierce, glad you're here. Seventh Son, Chest Rockwell, Flamin' Jackson, always a good time. The Reverend Flamin' Jackson. I Am the Noise Opera. Brandon, good to see you. Conky Donged. This is the Better Scoville channel. I'm going to tell Johnny you said that. No, I'm just kidding. No, but I really am. I don't get that too often, so I got to jump on that one. Just Ruth, good to see you. Heather Joy, glad you're here. I think I said Blue Dazzlebug, but if not, I'll say it again. Blue, good to see you. All right, peeps. So this thing almost had a couple of other names. Hey, speaking of the less famous Scoville brother, Johnny, how are you? Stacy Michaels, glad you're here as well. So this thing almost had a couple of different names because I could have gone a couple of different directions with this. You know, I was going to put up a thumbnail that said, it only takes one. It only takes one. And I was going to come up here and I was going to say, what do you think when I say it only takes one? We're on a recovery channel, right? What goes through your mind if I say, hello, Mark, if I say it only takes one? Somebody answer that. I'll even hold off a second. It only takes one. Because this is kind of important, people. This one is actually really relevant. What goes through your head if I say it only takes one? One drink, one hit, right? Good. Very good. Because if you have one of those, it's over, right? But that's not where I was going to go with it. And that was kind of what I wanted to display or try to get across. And I'm not picking on you, I promise you. Yeah, one wrong slip. See, the first place your head goes, because this is how sobriety is taught. The first place your dome goes is, you know what, one mistake and it's all over but the crying, right? That's it. Because you're always got one foot on a banana peel. And the other one is, you're always ready to eat it. You're always ready to fall down. And that's, hey, Jen Miller, good to see you. Miss V, good to see you. It's always one of those situations, Space Jeezel, glad you're here. It's always one of those situations where it's just like we were talking about the other day. You spend the entire time thinking about, I'm not going to screw up, I'm not going to screw up, I'm not going to screw up. I'm not going to drink anything, I'm not going to drink anything, I'm not going to drink anything, I'm not going to drink anything. All you're doing is thinking about drinking. And it's the same kind of thing. If I say to somebody, because of what I do, you know what, it only takes one. Your first thought is going to be, yep, you blow your whole sobriety with one. What if we went in the other direction? What if from this point forward, every time we start doing something in sobriety, we're going this way instead of that way? You start manifesting things. And this subject today is right on line with that. It really is. Because you can get into the habit of trying to break habits all day long for the rest of your life. Or you can get into the habit of trying to build. Let me see here. My exit sign's gone. There you go. Or you can get in the habit of trying to build productive habits, maybe an exchange thereof. And here's the thing, it's not clear cut. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute, but there's a part of your brain that handles both things, which is kind of odd. And we're going to talk about that today. But so I have researched this, how many thoughts do you have a day thing? And you know what? They don't know. That's really what it boils down to, because no matter how many places you go, there's so much science on this and nobody seems to agree. Distinctive, separate thoughts, right? Because you can think about, you know what, my car needs an oil change. And then you go back to that again and again and again, 20 times during the course of the day. It's a different thought because earlier on in the day you were thinking about it and then, you started thinking about squirrels' food and you got to go get that or whatever. And, then you're back on that oil change. That is not a separate thought, right? It's just another thought. Okay, so as far as separate thoughts go, the most accurate, or the most people seem to agree with 40,000. 40,000 separate thoughts every single day. Okay, it's a lot of thinking, right? It's also a lot of jumping from one thought to another. 40,000 thoughts. Now, let's say you took that and you multiplied that by the average lifespan here in the good old US of A, because that's where I live, right? That's a lot of thoughts, isn't it? The crazy thing is, and it gives you an idea of just how screwed up our government and how much debt we're in, because if you take those 40,000 thoughts that you have each and every day, and you multiply that by the average lifespan of a American, and you're going to come up with 1,138,800,000. I'm going to say that one again. It's 1,138,800,000 unique thoughts in your lifetime. Right? Separate thoughts. And it only takes one to change your entire existence. True story. It only takes one thought to change your entire existence. And, it could be, yeah, you know what, I'm ready to quit. It could be so many different thoughts. It's not as cut and dry. For me I'm ready to listen to this guy. That was the thought that changed my entire existence on this planet. I'm going to give this guy a shot. I'm going to listen to him. Why is he willing to put time into me? He doesn't know me from Adam, right? All of these things were running through my head. And other people there, he was one of those people that as soon as you met him, you just knew he was really intelligent. His intelligence sort of radiated off of him. And he was a fascinating guy to talk to because he had read everything. And he was just a very interesting guy. And when he said that, it wasn't like the very first time we talked. He offered this. We had some conversations, and a lot of them had to do with me screwing up at work or whatever. I was wasted, and so when he said to me, "Man, I can help you get off of that crap," and I don't mean kick it without going into pain or whatever. I mean getting off that crap for the rest of your life. I can help you walk, a clean and sober life and be happy. And I had that one thought. It only took one to change every other day of my life for the rest of it. One thought. I'm going to listen to this guy. I'm going to give this dude a chance. It could be, I read a comment today that someone said, they've been having a sobriety group at the church I go to for 2 years. And I was kind of prejudging the place. And, but today I went there and I'm glad that I did. One thought can change your entire existence. But we go in the wrong direction with those thoughts all the time. I spent decades thinking, I got to get off dope, I got to get off dope, I got to get off dope, I got to stop doing this stuff, I got to stop doing this, I got to stop doing this, I got to stop doing this. No more dope, no more dope, no more dope, no more dope. So I spent 30 years thinking about dope nonstop. When I was on it, or when I was thinking about quitting it, all I ever did was think about it. That doesn't work. I promise you it doesn't. It doesn't work. So you got to get into a little bit, you don't have to become a PhD. You don't have to become a motivational speaker. You don't have to become, any of those things. But you definitely have to do a little bit of work. Once you get that thought, you know what I mean? I could have blown the guy off the first day. I could have said, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm not making a list of what everybody would say about me. That's going to suck. You have to put a little work in. And you know what? It's always going to have a little bit of discomfort. But the really funny thing is, weigh that on a balance, not the triple beam scale, but the two kinds that used to balance one off of the other, right? A twin balance. Balance that out with the pain that you're living in if you're still using drugs or alcohol habitually. Because that pain is never ending. And it's the most insidious pain known to man. It really is. There's no other pain that we get. You break your leg, right? And your brain doesn't go, you're a loser. You're not as good as other people. You can't handle it. You're not going to make it, right? You just go, ah! And then they give you something for the pain, right? They set the bone, things start to heal. The only disease out there, that habitually every single day tells you that you're worthless is ours. There's mental illness. People are going to say, well, there's other mental. There are. Absolutely there are. There are other mental illnesses. This disease is very unique in how it breaks down the person who has it. It tells them that they can't escape it no matter what. There's nothing you can do. You know, if you come to the realization that you're suffering from depression or you've got some things going on, there's usually at least one road to go down, right? But when you try to go down the road to sobriety, if you don't go about it the right way, the first time you fall down, your brain celebrates because it's not on your team. It's against you. It is what you are fighting when it comes time to get sober. So the first time you stumble and fall, your brain's going, got him, got him. You're worthless. You're worthless. You knew you were going to fail. Psh, you got to be kidding me. What a waste of time. You're going to make a New Year's resolution? Psh, laugh. And this is what your brain's doing. ANTs, they call them, right? Automatic negative thoughts. It doesn't require any effort whatsoever to put in. In fact, it requires unbelievable amounts of effort to stop it. To make those things stop. Tons of effort. And I believe that one of the biggest reasons that people fail is because all they think about is dope, even when they're trying to quit. And a lot of people in academia, right? A lot of the people that have a lot of initials after their name who do this, right? Who try to help people get sober. They'll tell you, you got to concentrate on quitting this stuff. No, you don't. You got to concentrate on living without this stuff. And those are two really different things. And if that doesn't make sense to you, I'm hoping it might by the end of this. You have to come up with a game plan of how you are going to live your life without this. And I assure you, you can do it happy. In fact, you can do it deliriously happy. If you knew the number of conversations that I've had with Johnny Scoville, my brother, concerning living life without this stuff. When I first got sober, I would talk to him and he would say, boy, how's life? And I'd go, I just can't believe it. I rode a high, a real one, not a, but a real high for a couple of years, and I don't mean when I first quit, because it took me a long time to get happy. But once I got onto the path where I was living a life that I woke up in the morning and I didn't have to think about dope, I was walking on clouds for years. I just felt like I can't believe this is the way the rest of the world lives. I can't believe this is what life was like. I spent 46 years trying to avoid this feeling. It's staggering trying to explain to somebody what it feels like to be viciously uncomfortable in your own skin. That's a tough thing to try to explain to somebody. But if you say it to an addict, they go, yeah. Yep, I know exactly what you're saying. It doesn't require anything, which is why we're here, right? It's why we're together. It's why we do what we do here. So there's a part of the brain called the basal ganglia. And I don't know that we've ever talked about this. I've talked about a bunch of different parts of the brain with you. And my notes could not be done in an ink of worse color. For real. Like this light turns the ink on my page completely invisible. So if you see me doing this number, right, and looking like I'm blind, it's because I chose poorly. But so we're going to talk about habits, right? And they're formed in the basal ganglia. 70%, according to science, of what we do while we're awake, right? 70% of what we do while we're awake is habitual. That means only 30% of what we do every day isn't based on habit. Wrap your dome around that for a second. 7 out of 10 things you do every single day, you're only doing because you do it. You are so ingrained, things like brushing your teeth, right? We go to the bathroom, you wash your hands, right? All of the things that you do that are just so ingrained. You open the refrigerator, you look, you go top left, right? You go all the way down. Perhaps you don't, right? Maybe you start at the fruits and vegetables and work your way up. But whatever it is you do, it is completely habitual. You get into your automobile, and the routine you do when you get in there is the exact same thing every single time you do it. That's the nature of who we are, and we're built that way. We're built to be really comfortable when we're doing something habitually. Believe that. That's how we are designed. So when we start talking about these habit things, are you better off trying to break the largest one that you ever had or replace it with a bunch of other ones? And I'm not telling you one's better than the other, because there are two types of habits, right? well, I mean, there's a million types of habits, but they're broken down into two different categories. One is episodic, right? And the other is procedural. And episodic, all of these things that happen are based on something that has happened to you in the past. The procedural ones, think about stuff like working on a watch, right? Or cooking a recipe, right? Cooking something where you are following a recipe. That is procedural memory. That is the kind of stuff that if you're trying to, so in easy terms here for the boat so that this doesn't get super confusing, we'll just think of it in terms of go or no go, right? There's two different kinds. So you've got the inside the brain working on this basal ganglia. You have got these massive task building kind of potential for habitual stuff to do. And it's either going to go in one direction or another. It's either no go or it's go. And for some people, it's very simple for them to develop a habit. You ever heard people say it takes 14 days to develop a habit? I guarantee you've heard people say that. Or you've heard some people say it takes, 30 days or whatever. The truth of the matter is nobody seems to know exactly how long it takes. But there was a study done, and the scientist's name was Lally, I believe. Lally was the head scientist. And what they found was that depending on the patient or the person they're studying, it can go anywhere from 18 days to develop a habit up to 254. Just, it's unique to you. So for some people, when they say, you know what, you do this for 2 weeks, brother, you're going to have a habit. You got nothing to worry about. So just get a good habit. And then at day 18, it's just not habitual for you. And you got to keep getting up and you got to keep talking yourself into doing what you're doing, right? And day 19, it's the same thing. And at 4 months, you're looking at everybody else who's just getting into the routine and doing what they do. And you're going, I am broken. I'm not like other people. I'm stupid, right? And you just start automatic negative thoughts start telling you that you damaged your brain too much. You can't come back from this, right? You're never going to be right. And those automatic negative thoughts start to kill you. So one of the reasons that I read books and reports that you guys probably don't want to is this is news to me. Like I promise you, when I was reading this last night and I came across this study, I was like, 254 days. Yeah, nobody ever told me we're looking at 254 days. This camera, I'm going to hit squirrel with it in a second. 254 days? I've been told 14 days since football, right? Since Coach Jim McLaughlin told me that all I got to do is do this for the next 14 days. And you got nothing to worry about because then it'll be a habit. Well, you know what? It didn't take me 14 days. And it's the same thing with skiing. It's the same thing with anything that I did in my life. I didn't pick up anything in 14 days except a drug habit. That's just the truth. So when you start getting into these two parameters of go and no go, which one's going to work for you? Well, the sad thing is that as they start to teach people who are drug addicts to try and break habits, they teach them to concentrate on them incessantly, right? You put little notes up. I'm not going to drink today. Drink, 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 drink. Everywhere you go, all you're doing is reminding yourself of it. I don't think that works, people. I really cannot stress enough how much I believe that this, I felt like a light bulb went on and I had an moment for real. And this is from talking to a lot of people who are trying to get sober. The ones that seem to be successful are the ones that when you talk to them, there's no reference at all to their drug. You can read the emails. I could not share them with you, but I wish I could because I could show you the person's name and I could show you the emails and the people who say, no matter what happens, man, I'm not going to smoke any weed today, right? Or no matter what happens, I'm not going to do any coke today, or whatever their substance of choice is. They tend to stumble more often. I'm not going to say fail because I don't think anybody here is ever going to fail. We're all going to get there, right? We may not get there at 18 days. We may not get there at 14 days, right? But by 254, if you're sticking to this program, I believe 100% that every one of you is going to make it, right? For real. It's only going to take one. It's only going to take one. That one thought at the right time that will change your existence on this planet. I did a video this morning. If you guys saw the video, thank you. If you didn't, what's the matter with you people? I do a video every morning. And this morning I talked about concentrating today on the things that you are willing to quit for. And some people wrote down just beautiful things. Instantly, things jump to mind. This is why I don't want to do this crap. This is why I don't want to do this stuff. And for me, that was the change in my life, for real. I mean, Q obviously was a huge decision. But his technique, the first thing he had me do was get me out of the equation. To move me completely out of the equation. Write down all of the reasons you're, worth quitting for. Forget you. Oh, I want to be a better person. No, we'll get to all of that. Why do you want to never use this stuff again? And I'm telling you, people, I didn't write stuff down like, I don't want to be sick when I wake up in the morning. There was nothing on that list about me. Because I wasn't worth it. And this is one of those traps that we get into in recovery. Every single time. Well, you got to want to quit for you. Rip, good to see you. You got to want to quit for you, brother. If you're not quitting for you, then it's just not going to happen. So if you put down, I really want to quit to make my wife, happy. I've loved her. She sat by me my entire life, through a prison rip or whatever. And you start going through all these things. And the person sitting across from you is going to say, that won't work. It's not going to work. Can't quit for her. It's got to be about you. I guarantee you that person's never caught a buzz. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I guarantee you they've never caught a buzz. Because when the day comes that you're going to quit, you're not in your right mind. It's going to be a long time, right? If your substance of choice is alcohol, they say that your brain starts getting normal at 14 days. 14 days after you quit that trash, right? Drinking it every day. At day 14, your brain will start getting normal again. Doesn't mean that you're going to be right as rain. But all of the normal brain functions, Seventh, good to see you, are going to start coming back. Leisure, good to see you too. After 14 days. So with that in mind, when you first sit down and say, okay, well, I want to get sober, you don't have any respect for yourself. We've all been there. You don't like looking in the mirror. You'd rather shave in the shower because the reflection looking back at you is a loser in your mind. Right? You convince yourself you're not worthy. You're really not. You're not as good as other people. You're not any of those things. That's what we tell ourselves. And you know what happens, people? Think about it. What happens? The basal ganglia gets a hold of that with both hands, and automatic negative thoughts become habitual. I don't know if it took you 14 days for that to happen to you. I don't know if it took you 254 days for that to happen to you, but I know it's happened to every one of you. Every one of you I've talked to. We all go through those automatic negative thoughts that become so habitual that we have to try things like meditation, right? To make them go away. We have to try all of these different ways to get rid of it. Why wouldn't we? We have programmed our brain for so long to think we're less than. I've done shows where I say, you know what? You're not perfect exactly how you are. You're not. You're not. But I'll tell you something. You're no loser. Believe that. If you got an automatic negative thought, Kylie, so good to see you. Kylie Morrison, I'm glad you're here. I haven't seen you in a minute. Glad you're here. But I'm telling you, if you look in the mirror and you think to yourself, I'm not worthy, I'm a loser, I'm not, that, people, is the enemy. That's the enemy. And it's horse crap. You have a disease. If you don't like the disease concept, you can go someplace else. And there's a ton of people that will tell you that you don't have a disease, that you're just weak. There are those sites out there. I believe it. Believe it. There are people out there that just want to tell you this ain't a disease. It is a stone cold disease. It is. And one of the biggest symptoms is that it tells you you're a loser. It tells you you're not worthy. It tells you, I'm here to tell you that once you can get even to that 14-day mark, it's going to start changing. The habit might take 254 days. According to Dr. Lally, it might take 254 days to start the new habit. And that new habit is going to be, people laugh. Crazy cat, I got one of those. People laugh when I say things like, I want you to go in the mirror, I want you to look at your reflection, and I want you to say, you are a winner. Right? Because you think of Stuart Smalley and you think of Saturday Night Live. And doggone it, people like me. Right? And I remember when Q said to me, I want you to do daily affirmations. And I thought, oh, brother, I will I will try to do this. I'm not doing daily affirmations. And his response was, okay, then we're just not going to do this. Because if you're not going to shove every chip into the middle of the table, then you're not going to get well, and I'm not going to tarnish my record. You got to shove every chip into the center of the table. You got to go all in. If you're struggling with automatic negative thoughts, it is a habit. It is a habit that you have ingrained. And now trying to break that habit, it's not you trying to break that habit. It's you trying to overcome your brain to break that habit. Because your brain wants you to go do dope. Your brain wants you to relapse. It's plain and simple. Why? Because we are more comfortable in a habitual situation. We did drugs or alcohol too long. We became addicted, which means we habitually do the substance. And if we don't, our brain will make us uncomfortable until you do the habit. Have you ever brushed your teeth every single day, the exact same time your entire life? And then somebody gets there in the morning and goes, come on, we're leaving right now. And you go, give me 2 seconds. I just got to brush my teeth. We're leaving right now. You get in the car and the first thing you do is go like this, right? And you feel like your teeth are wearing a sweater and you're uncomfortable the entire day, right? Until you can get a toothbrush and do that. Why? Because you just broke a habit that you do habitually. You didn't get that cup of coffee in the morning, right? You just get a little off, don't you? Well, because 70% of what you do every single day is a habit. 70% of what you do while you are awake is a habit. So the question becomes, are you going to be more gifted at breaking habits or creating new ones? For me, I'm not a guy that breaks habits well. I'm not. So for me, I had to create a bunch of new ones. And you know, Monk, glad you're here. I spend a lot of time beating the drum about things like making your bed, right? Trying to pick things up, have a clean car. Why? Because if you can make those things habitual, how much time do they take up every day? They change the mind. You start to reprogram the mind. There's no two ways about it. The first time you get up in the morning and you make your bed, against your will, by the way, because that is not your habit. Your habit is to kick the sheets to the bottom of the bed, right? Roll out, go downstairs. You know, that's what, as addicts, we're not ready to do anything productive habitually. But the first time you make that bed and you do it right and you're smoothing that stuff out, whether you realize it or not, right? Because it's uncomfortable, you're heading in the right direction massively. Journaling as a habit will push you in the right direction massively. And we lean very heavy on all of the benefits. Whether I'm wearing clothes or not, I feel naked without my wedding ring. You know something? I've heard so many people say that. That's another one of those things. A great example. Another great example. And you'll never see me without a watch on. It's, you know, even before the business, my brother can tell you, going back to the time that I was about 12, I make my bed after my coffee. That's great. But it's a habit, isn't it? The more of the 70%, you have to understand, people, that the day we push all of the chips into the middle of the room, right? Take me as an example. I'm not going to talk about you guys, but take me as an example. If 70% of what you do every day is habitual, I spent 100% of my day either getting dope, doing dope, or trying to get dope. That was it. That was my life. Stealing to get it, selling the stuff I stole, but everything was in focus for one thing until I nodded off, right, at about midnight. And then I would get up the next day. So when the time comes for you to start your new life, 100% of my life has to be rewired. And if you're that person, if you spend your entire day either drinking, I saw a sorry to hear that, Chuck. Chuck, you all right? Just blew a head gasket in my truck. My car blew the crank bearing last week. Now this, I can't win. You know something, Chuck? You can win. You can. I know what you're saying. I really do. And I am the king of that expression. I can't catch a break. I can't win. I am the king of that expression. And prior to me trying to clean up my language, it was, you know, F me, F my life, all of those kind of things. And I said it so often that those, and I'm not trying to use you as an example, but it's so difficult to lean this way when we've spent our entire life leaning this way, right? And honestly, people, this is the biggest nugget of knowledge. Zenwen, I'm glad you're here. This is the biggest nugget of knowledge I am ever going to be laying out on this boat. I promise you it is. There is nothing bigger. Our problem, our meaning us, right? You know what us means. We're not like other people. It's not a bad thing. It really isn't. It's a disease. It doesn't make you a bad person. But the goal is to learn to take what we've been dealt and get it as close to living like a normal person as we possibly can. Is it ever going to be completely 100% normal? Not for me. It might be for you, but I'll tell you something. I'm happy as a pig in mud. I really am. I started to tell a story yesterday, and believe it or not, I didn't finish it. I know you're shocked. Something came up and I got sidetracked. But I was telling the story about my partner and I starting to clean out the apartment of a guy that used to own a casino. And we're digging through this guy's life. And at this point, I'm 7.25 years since the last time I got high. And probably 10 years, maybe 12 years since I had a needle in my arm, right? Because at the end, I was only smoking. And the guy had like 15 toolboxes in his house. They didn't have tools in them. They had photography stuff. But I mean, like rolling tools. This isn't a split level apartment. But everywhere you look, there was a toolkit. And they were everywhere. And we were trying to get them organized so that we could toss some of them out. Because nobody needs that many toolkits. And the guy lives in Hawaii, and we're not trying to package all this stuff up. So I'm going through, and I reach down into a bunch of stuff, and I come up with a handful of things because this guy was not particularly organized. And in my hand was a U100. A lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about, and a lot of you don't have a clue. But the ones that know what I'm talking about, just hearing U100 made the back of the hair on the back of their neck stand up, and they just got that twinge of really uncomfortable. It was an insulin syringe. It was a half a cc insulin syringe, a 33 for as far as the gauge on the needle goes. And I'm looking down at this thing, and it still had the back cap on it, still had the front cap on it, so there was no danger of me getting stuck. This was a brand new needle. But to have one of those things in my hand after all of that time, if there was no danger of me but it crippled me. It did. Mentally, I looked at my business partner, and I went over and handed it to him, and I said, man, I'm going to go for a walk. Because it was such an uncomfortable feeling that, like I said, I'm never going to be normal. But this is the kind of thing where I'm going to be abnormal. You know what I mean? The scene in Pulp Fiction where he goes and gets the opiate and he injects it. I'm never going to see that scene again. It's never going to happen. Because the last time I saw it is the last time I saw it. And I've seen the movie enough where I can watch that film, right? It's an old movie. It's not a lot of fast editing. I can watch Pulp Fiction. I can't watch that scene. And I know when it's coming, and I will get up and walk out of the room. Because I have 46 years of programming that maybe when I'm 80, who knows? But for the foreseeable future, I'm a very happy person. I live a great life. But I've left track marks that aren't on my arm. You know, there are, you are going to have to get very accustomed to the fact that some of the things that we have done, we're never going to get over. Some of you are never going to get to a point where you can be around your substance of choice and be comfortable. Is that an awful thing? I don't know, man. You got to answer that for yourself. Not for me, it's not. What the hell would I want to be at a party where someone was doing heroin? Right? Why would I ever want to be there? Captain, do you get the same feeling when giving blood or getting an IV, etc.? I do. I absolutely do. When it's different kinds of discomfort. And the biggest habit is doing this one, right? If I'm going from my right hand to my left arm, the first thing you would do is you would clench down as hard as you could on your fist because it's going to make the veins blow out. And I was getting a TB test. And I walked up, and the doctor was the nurse was an elderly woman. She was probably in her late 70s. And this is in prison. And I walked up, and I put my arm out for this TB test, right? And there's a whole line of people behind me. And she looked at me, and she went, were you shooting meth or were you shooting heroin? And I said, heroin. I said, you can still see the track marks? She goes, no. But that fist thing, she said, that is so unique to you people. It's just ingrained, right? So does it, cut down on my quality of life? Not a lick. And I'll be honest, I get euphoric recall when the needle breaks the arm. And there's nobody that has done this stuff as long as I have that won't. We're so programmed that when that needle goes under the skin, your brain goes and shoots dopamine out. This is why addicts will fix water if they have nothing else. Because they do get that splash of dopamine just from that pain of the needle breaking the skin. I hope you're understanding just what this means in terms of our mind. So, are you go or no go? Well, for me, it is a whole lot easier to concentrate on my new life than it is to think about my old one. Believe it. So, think about this. You get up in the morning and you make your bed, right? You go downstairs, you do your coffee, and we decided that you guys are going to start eating, right? You're going to do 3 meals a day because it's going to ensure that you're going to sleep, and it's going to keep you from being hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. So you eat breakfast. Now you've done the first 3 things of the day, right? You probably took a shower. That's 4 things. And now an hour of the day is gone, and you've been doing nothing but habits that had nothing to do with your past. All new habits. Journal. Go for a walk. All of these things that we start to reinforce. Is it going to take you 14 days? Is it going to take you 250? Who cares? Do it for the rest of your life. It's you against your previous habits. That's what's going to keep you in this game. And what I'm doing right now, you realize this is the biggest habit now in my life. Make sense? Working with you people is the biggest habit in my life. And there's so many similarities to it, it's incredible. Really. I mean, yes, what I do, you should be able to explain it in 15 minutes, right? 30 seconds if you're good. So here's what I do. I run a sobriety channel on YouTube, and I try to help people get sober. So I spend a decent amount of time talking to people about their previous drugs of choice, what they're going to do to try to get sober, and work with a lot of people. We got about 3,500 people who are on the boat. There's the whole deal, right? No, because every single time I get a text, it's a different story, it's a different problem, it's a different drug. And there is something about that that's very similar to the previous life. I know what the focus is, but I never know what direction it's going to take me. But I have great days where you guys are killing it. I get people that say, I'm 30 days sober. I wouldn't have been there if I hadn't found the boat. My brain goes and shoots out some feel-good chemical. And then you get a text that says, I found my husband in the garage. And it's just a completely different feeling. But this is my habit. And it is a lot more positive than my previous one. And all of the things that I'm doing are restructuring my life in such a way that the 70% of my time that is habitual, I'm doing something good instead of doing something bad. It's that simple. If you can start to take 70% of your waking time and habitually do something positive, you're never going to use again. That's a promise. And how can you make that promise? Because it's science. Plain and simple, it's science. If 70% of the time you're awake, you have a habit, you're doing something habitually that is good for you, working on replacing unhealthy thoughts and habits with healthier ones is so rewarding and not self-sabotaging. Great comment. Absolutely a great comment. And it's the truth. It's the truth. Now, there are going to be people out there who say, man, I have a much easier time breaking habits than I do creating new ones. Chances are they're not here. Know what I mean? In a perfect world, it's a 50-50 split. Your basal ganglia is just as comfortable breaking bad habits and creating new ones. For people like that, it should be very, very easy to restructure a new life. Once again, you're not here, right? Those people are somewhere else. They're probably on a self-help channel deciding what they're going to take over. And one of the other things that the more I research and the more I read about, the more I come to the conclusion that as you start going forward and you're restructuring this new life, there are habits that you're going to start working on that might not work out. You follow me? You say, I really have to have this new life, and I have to, idle hands. Somebody left a comment yesterday, and I didn't get to see it until the show was over. But they talked about how time on their hands is a big trigger. Time on their hands is everybody's biggest trigger. Idle time will kill you. I don't care who you are. As a recovering addict, idle time is all bad. And people go, well, it's nice to just sit and relax. Okay? Do something while you're relaxing. Meditate, read, do whatever. But just sitting around and thinking, right? The old cliche, stinking, thinking, whatever. If you're sitting and thinking about nothing, guess what you're going to start thinking about? And it doesn't have to be dope. Like, that's the logical answer, but it does not have to be dope. It can be, you know what? I'm bored. I'm a loser. Things aren't good. When you start getting those negative thoughts, thank you, Pagan. I missed the comment, unfortunately. Let me see if I can find it over here. We got to crawl before we can walk. Amen? Absolutely. That's why the first goal is just to get 14 days clean, right? All of the stuff that we're talking about. And season 1, I swear to you, we talked about nothing like this. My counselor wanted me to become a counselor, but my problem is I talk about the thoughts that grows in my head too. You know what? I'd be curious to know how long you're sober. You know, I even at a year into this, or 2 years into this, or 3 years into this, I wouldn't have done very well trying to teach a class or to do anything like that. I did that inside prison. But by then I had a good chunk of time underneath me. In the beginning, all I could worry about was me. Welcome yoga. Do we have a yoga, or is he talking about yoga? Well, you know what? Yoga is a great example, right? I don't know if you guys have ever done yoga, but yoga is great. It's fantastic for relaxation. It quiets the mind. There's all kinds of great stuff in it, but not everybody can do it. And some people feel like there's an overwhelming sense that they're not doing something and they're not doing it well. Meditation can be the same way. If what you're doing isn't rewarding after 3 or 4 weeks, there is nothing evil about quitting it. Honestly, sticking with something to just try to take up your time that you're not good at, that you don't find any kind of reward out of, can really be a dangerous thing. And we build this thing in our head that quitting is awful. You can't quit, right? You just can't quit. Never quit quitting. If what you're doing isn't fulfilling and it's not moving you in the right direction, quit doing it. Don't take up that and say, well, I used to do yoga for an hour a day and it's awful. It doesn't work for me. So I'm going to go sit on the couch for an hour in a day, right? And just sit there. You're going to use. You're going to have to replace whatever you quit with something else. And here's the great thing. In the beginning, you really have to seek this stuff out. In the beginning, I used to have to think to myself, okay, so I'm going to journal. I'm going to walk for this many hours a day because I didn't want there to be a second that I was sitting around the unit, because that is just so dangerous for me. But the longer you stay sober, the more something comes along and you go, oh, that's cool, right? And you start to sort of link onto the things that are going to end up becoming a part of your life. You don't have to go seek them out in quite the same way that you do in the beginning. But idle hands, boy, who said that yesterday? It was really a great call, because it's one of the biggest triggers in the world. We stuff so many emotions and feelings and traumatic memories in our life. It's all stored up in our spine. You know what? There is some medical truth to this because of cemetery. 515 days sober. Good for you. The vagus nerve runs completely down, right? So there is a lot of truth to that, that you do end up storing a great deal of that, that area of your body really does end up storing tension and all kinds of other things. And yoga goes a long way. Stretching. You hate yoga? Look into stretching. Just straight stretching. There are so many things that you can do, but the fool folds his hands together and consumes his own flesh, destroying himself by idleness and apathy. Franklin, that's heavy. But it's the truth. You sit around with nothing to do and you got problems. Think of all of the things that we've recommended that you do on the boat that are working for other people on the boat, right? Think about it. Journaling, exercise, making sure you eat 3 squares a day, right? All of these things become habitual. And when they become habitual, if what you're doing habitually is going to make you healthier, you keep doing it. And if it takes a long time, I don't care if breakfast is uncomfortable in the beginning. You have got to supply your dome, right? Your brain needs calories. If you don't, then you've got problems. I have a rowing machine, and it's great for when I need to tire myself out. Conky Dong is a great comment. Walking is so calming. Great comment. These are really healthy things. One of the reasons exercise is one of the all-time great ways. 33 years on May 9th. Did you catch that? May 9th will be 33 years. Barbara, congratulations. How great is 33 years, people? Tell me that does not just make you want to clap, light a match, stomp your foot, and scream. Boy, is that the dream. Oh, I love that, Barbara. Boy, do I love that. 33 years. All right, so look, exercise is key for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you work out an hour a day, and I don't care what you're doing, whether you're walking, doing whatever you do, you're not just burning time. That's one of the keys to exercise, is you're not just burning time. You're habitually getting into a habit that is going to do what? It's going to release really, really cool chemicals in your brain that you used to have to pay for. I want you to think of drugs as a switch, right? You throw a switch. It releases chemicals in your head that makes you buzzed or high or wasted or nodding or whatever. Doesn't matter. That substance, whether you drink it, sniff it, snort it, shoot it, doesn't matter. All that is a switch. The question becomes, how are you going to throw the switch? Habitually, from this point forward, how are you going to throw the switch? This is huge for me. It keeps the switch thrown all day long. This is huge for me. And they're not all great days, people. I'll tell you, there are some bad ones on the boat. There really are. But you know what? A bad day of trying to help people is better than a good day of stealing. For real. People who say, I donate my time, I go down and I work at the soup kitchen, whatever, that does amazing things for you. It really does. It does amazing things for you. Those people don't do that. I mean, I was going to say they don't do it out of kindness of their heart. Of course they do. But they get so much out of it. And when I used to hear people say stuff like that, and I'd go, oh, they're idiots. They're idiots. I've been doing breath work exercises twice a day since last June, and I quit smoking cigarettes May 28th, 2023. Breath work is so important for relaxation and deep breathing. We did a couple of shows on this last season on breathing exercises. And when you can start doing the really deep breathing exercises where you're actually opening the lobes clavicularly right underneath your clavicle, there really is so many people. There are so many different ways. But the key is you got to go out and find it. You got to find what's going to work for you. Look at all of the people who pop off with one thing like that, right? Breathing exercises. Yoga's great for me. I love walking. I got a rowing machine. Start finding things that make you happy and throw the switch. There are things that we do during the day habitually that don't throw the switch. Right? That's a fact. You're not going to be releasing feel-good chemicals all day long. And you probably shouldn't be. Really, it's not how we're designed. If every single second of every single day you're throwing that switch, you're not going to know what a good time is. That's just what dope did. We don't know what a good time is. We don't know what a bad time is. We're just wasted and destroying our life. So in the real world, you could try. Honestly, you can. You could try to be doing things, serving people all day long, every day. There are still highs and lows in that. And the longer you do anything, it's like a tolerance. It really is. I know that sounds crazy, but you build up a tolerance to anything. When those heart-wrenching moments on the boat where you hear a story from somebody, Johnny, be good. You hear a story from somebody and you just go, oh, that's heart-wrenching. It tears my heart out. And then at the end of that story, they say to you, but I haven't used since I got here. That will throw a switch in ways that I can't explain. And I know there are people right now going, look, man, I'm not going to start a show. You don't have to. Become somebody's 5. Become part of somebody else's circle of 5 people that they can lean on. It will change your life. And if you become part of 5 people's 5, right? You get a bunch of different people out there that are leaning on you. They're not all going to hit you at the same time. They're probably not even all going to hit you at the same day. But if you take 2 to 3 minutes every day to send every one of them a text, you doing all right, brother? Hey, sister, you okay? I haven't heard from you in a while. Everything okay? Every day you start sending that out and you do that habitually, watch what it does for your brain. People have asked me why I don't do more right now. I'm taking care of myself and trying to gain the strength to fight my ex. When the time comes that I do feel like I'm doing it. Oh, so when the time comes. So I do feel like I'm doing enough at the moment. You know what, Miss V? Look, be good to you and be true to you. But you never want to slide back into that, into the habit of sitting around and doing nothing. And I'm not suggesting you are by any stretch. But you know what? If you're uncomfortable being in somebody's group, don't be. But you better be habitually doing something for 70% of your day, right? That at least pretty often throws that switch. These are the logical ways that you are going to remain sober. And I'm not worried about you, V. I'm really not. And good Lord, M. Hunt says, nothing wrong with self-care. Everything we're talking about right now is self-care. For real. Everything we're talking about today is self-care. You could not be more right. Not only is there nothing wrong with it, if you don't have it in spades, if you're not working on self-care as what that 70% habitual habit is, right? Me doing this is self-care, right? Me cleaning squirrel's litter box, right? Every day is self-care. Sounds ridiculous. I mean, I know it really does. But all of these things, me making my bed, self-care. Trying to calmly work on a watch instead of throw one against the wall. I'd go to more concerts if I could. You know what? I have not seen a concert in so long. I used to go to them all the time. I was talking to DJ Daddy-O last night about concerts. M. Hunt says, I'm proud of my self-care routine. I get excited for reward activities. Good. Honestly, when we're taking care of ourselves, really good things happen without fail. Hold on 1 second. Zenwen says, I got my girl on January 3rd, and she's helped me so much. I do take her out for walks often, and we go into the backyard and play. Also, she's definitely my therapy dog. You know what? I cannot tell you how much I have gotten out of Squirrel. I'm not kidding you. And Squirrel can be the most annoying animal in the entire world. You guys have never seen Squirrel when she's on one. I have to ghost sometimes. There's nothing wrong with ghosting at all. If somebody is, if people, your job is to make sure that you remain sober until they close the box. That's the best thing that you can do for you. And if there is someone that is just grinding your gears or pushing your buttons, I said this yesterday on the lifeboat. I've got one friend from my past life. One. And I'm not taking his phone calls. Well, he's not calling me either. And that which is the reason I'm not taking his phone calls. If he were to start trying to call me today, I'd be really, really nervous. Why? You know, he fell off the face of the earth. And that's behavior that does not make any sense. Triggers, exactly right. If something's triggering you in any way, shape, or form, get away from it. And the gold standard is reaching out and talking to somebody. Honestly, the enemy of relapse is communication. The enemy of addiction is communication. The opposite of addiction is connection, right? Thank you, Zen. If you are taking time to talk to people all of the time about what's going on in your life and most importantly, how you feel about it, then you're going to remain sober. Two guys figured that out a really long time ago, right? And we're all descendants, whether you like, my pooch has kept me here when I've been sad. You know what? I'm telling you, this cat can be the most annoying animal in the entire world, but she has been so fantastic for me. She really has. My dog has been my savior. Look at how many people. Joanna W., you're darn right you do. Yahusha? Yahusha is back. Yahusha's disciple. Just got home from work. Hope you're doing well. Much love, everybody. Great to see you. Really, really great to see you. I'm always happy when you're here. I mean that. I mean that. Jimmy Pickles, good to see you. Yeah, animals go a great long way, people. There's responsibility. We got to take care of them, right? And they just bring so much into your life. I've never met anybody, truthfully, I've never met anybody that had a pet that said, yeah, you know what? They really don't bring anything into my life, right? I really don't get much out of it. It's just a pain in the butt. I got to walk it and clean up after it. There's just not much to it. Considering that this cat spends about 30% of her time being an absolute lunatic, knocking things down, running away with things, hiding things, it's amazing how much I get out of her. But there's also the attachment that the animal gets to you. There's really something that is life-changing about that. I got my fur boy and now the grand pup. Tiny house, 2 bulldogs. The grand pup. T. Prada, good to see you. I have a Yorkie. She makes me laugh. She's my ESA. I love her so much. See this, people? Are you seeing this? You know, there's so much. Look at all of the different things that people have said today. And you can, I can't even hear you people talk. Right? God bless Mark. I'm with you, Piper. Mark. Yeah, I'm with you. I really am. But if you listen to all of the different things that people are saying here, you can't see them, but you can hear them. You literally can feel the attachment, of people who are saying, my cat dog is Angelo, right? All of these different people. There is so much love and kindness in this room. There really is. The best thing about us, people, the best thing about us. And my pooch is a Chihuahua. She's my fur hemorrhoid. I had a half Chihuahua and half wiener dog, a Chiweenie. That was the smartest animal I have ever had. I could train that dog to do something in minutes. Honestly, she was just the most amazing little animal. I go to the gym. I talk to nobody except my trainer. Works? That works. First of all, who talks to anybody at the gym anyway? You know what I mean? That's sort of it's one of those behaviors where you go and do what you're doing. You know what? I'm bothered by all of you people that know every type of dog, because people say stuff. They're like, yeah, I got a Yorkie. I have no idea what you're talking about. And it bums me out. I know, if you could, what's the name of the dog that Lassie is? See, I don't know the name of any of those. But someone will go, well, it's a Lassie dog. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, I gotcha. Or someone will go, it's Benji. And I'll go, oh, yeah, I gotcha. Right? But I don't know the name of any of those animals. Rip Curl, you have a Chiweenie? Bella, she is queen of the house. Well, mine was a lady as well. Yeah, mine was a female dog as well, but I can't say the name of it because she's probably still alive and property of my ex. And I don't know. I think she would probably take offense. She takes offense at everything. See, Collie, that's what Pomeranian. Again, I don't want to make a drug joke, but I thought Pomeranian was a kind of hash. Yorkie is a Yorkshire Terrier. Okay, but what do they look like? Sheepdogs. I know what a sheepdog looks like. I got that one. How about a Chessie? What is a Chessie? Oh, Miss V, I'm sorry about that. I don't know what a Chessie is. So that's a half. Someone dumped a pit bull in my yard last year. She's sleeping next to me every night on the boat. I love it. I love it. How good is that? You know what? To me, there is nothing like in the entire world like taking an animal and saving him. I was not long out of prison when I got Squirrel. I really had not been out very long. And when I went to get her, she was in a cage. And there was just something about that, there was, I don't know, it affected me. It really did. It may sound silly, but I felt like I was giving this cat freedom and a life, and it felt pretty incredible. I had no idea she was going to take over the entire house, but Pomeranians look like little foxes. I know exactly what you're talking about. Well done, Cindy. I know exactly what you're talking about. See, now I know what dog you're talking about. I know Benny. Benny is a border collie pit bull mix. You can see shorts and posts of him on my channel. If you haven't seen Benny, Rip, put up your a link to your channel. If you haven't seen Benny, you need to. This is where I mentioned my tag. You know what, people? Believe it or not, that brings us to the top of the hour. And you know what? I'm going to revisit this topic. Any dogs and cats can be trained by a good trainer, 100%. You know, I probably believe that. I don't know enough about the dog end of it, but like Squirrel fetches and, you know, but I think Squirrel trains me. Honestly, I think this cat's got me trained. Like she comes and gets in the basket because she's kind of trained to do that. And then the rest of the day I work for her. So she's getting, Benny is beautiful. Benny is the coolest dog, people. You really need to stop by and check out Stand for Truth. Welcome, Stand for Truth. You look great in green. You really do. And you know who's not here because he's probably working, but Charlie Mullins, or I should say Ensign Charlie Mullins, he turned green today as well. So Stand for Truth. I'm really glad that you're in green. You look fantastic, and it's a good cause, people. It really is. I really appreciate all of you that do. It's helping. It really is. It's helping people. And I'm looking back here because Lady Spellbreaker, I'm going to be reaching out to you here shortly. I would like to have a conversation with you. I dropped the ball on that about a week ago, but I would like to talk to you. So I'm going to send you an email today if I could. Alrighty, people. This is the top of the hour. This is the part where I say I will be back tomorrow night. Same squirrel time, same squirrel channel. It'll be a different squirrel chat, but same squirrel channel. Between now and then, people, how about we lean this way? Right? Lean this way. Forget about your substance of choice and start thinking about habitually changing who you are. Right? That's 70%. What are you going to do with it? Start by making your bed. If you don't journal tonight before you go to bed, why not? Give it a try, man. 14 days. Give it a try. If that doesn't work, give it 254. It'll become a habit. And it'll be a good one, I promise you. Alrighty, peeps. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. And I will see you tomorrow night on the lifeboat. And this, of course, is the coolest cat on the planet. That is a cat in a basket. Cindy Pardee. My goodness, Cindy. Cindy, thank you so much. That's beautiful. It really is. Wow. Thank you, Cindy. That is much appreciated. I mean that. All right. God bless, people. We will see you tomorrow night. Wow.